Portland, Oregon, and I use the Genius in my practice, and I train people how to use the Genius, and I help them get the right package and give them support and all that good stuff. It is such a pleasure to be with you. I love talking about the Genius and what it can do, and getting to help and assist you. And we have a very, very special guest today. That is the developer of the of the Genius Insights. So I'm really excited to bring him on. A lot of you know Ryan. So I'm going to introduce him, and he is going to be talking about the new exciting version of the Genius and what you need to do to make this new version really successful for yourself. And you can see there's that incredible new splash page. Don't you guys love the beauty of these new graphics? These are the types of things that Ryan is constantly at work on to really improve the look of the Genius, but also the performance of it, making sure that lots of things are not only improved, but even upgraded to something more than you can ever imagine. So I'm here to take your questions, but I really want to introduce the genius himself, which is Ryan. So let me see if we can get some audio here. Ryan, are you there?
I am, yes, Ariel. Thank you so much for the invitation, and certainly glad to be online. So greetings, everyone, and thanks very much for joining us on a Monday afternoon, I guess.
Yeah, so Ryan, tell us all about the new changes and what people need to do. I think it'll be really helpful for them.
For sure. I think, the idea with today, what I'd like to share is maybe just some, just give you a quick little overview of basically what we've been, fumbling around with for the last 8 weeks, which has been an absolute nightmare. But I'm glad to see that we are coming to the end of that. And then secondly, just to go through the whole new sort of offline, versus sort of online process. So just to give you a quick overview, when we came out with our first beta program, the idea behind it is that, basically for simplicity's sake, for programming sake and everything else, a large portion of the actual app was based on an online capability. What that meant is that you actually needed to be online a large portion of the time. Initially, I thought it was a fantastic idea because, I'm always online. However, in all fairness, sort of looking back, it's something that I sensed from day one, and yet I sort of chose to discard what my intuition was telling me. But, first and foremost, I recognize that many of you have your own opinions about Wi-Fi, and certainly within your clinical environment, you want to be in a position where you can actually use the technology completely offline. So we went back to the drawing board, and took us about 8 weeks, and we have now released our version, our offline version. It does actually sync online as well. So the great features that we had with the online version, where you wouldn't need Dropbox, all of your data would be safe and it would be secure. All of those features are still readily available, and they are available, and I'll certainly walk you through that process. But the other cool thing is that everything you do on this app, it's now going to be stored to your local device as well. So to your local, to the actual local iPad or Android device that you're using. Now, a little word of caution or a suggestion: everything is going to be saved to your local device, which is fine. However, if you want to sync the information, you do need to go and actually manually sync that information with the server, and I'll actually take you to that point later. So don't forget, if you do not sync this, and you can sync it once a month, once a year, every day, it's really immaterial. But until you actually sync it, all of your information will be stored on your device. So, if you decide to drop your iPad or if it breaks or something like that, you do risk you do have the risk of actually losing all of your client files, etc. So first and foremost, the current app that many of you have hopefully downloaded is the new offline version, which is it's pretty clear. You'll know whether you have the offline version or not simply by the new fractal graphics and that we have created. Once you've downloaded your version, two issues. Ariel, could we go back one step, please?
Sure. Do you want to go back to the splash page, or?
You know what? Just click on the actual sign out in the top left-hand button there, that little round circle.
I don't think I'm going to be able to sign back in.
Oh, sure. Okay. So let's just pretend that we've actually signed out. So typically what will happen is that once you have downloaded the new offline version, it should automatically sign you out. Now, in order to sign back in, it'll ask you for your email address and your password. Now, if you have forgotten your password, fear not, because there is a forgot password button. So just go ahead, click on the forgot password option, enter your email address, and then it will generate a new password for you. Once you've got that new password, you can go ahead and you can log in.
Yeah, so because they give you a temporary password, but then once you're inside the program, you can actually go to the nav bar and change your password to something you actually can remember, like something goofy like the name of your cat.
I'd actually like to go through that process as well.
Sure,
just remind
sure.
Yeah. I think that's certainly important. So, you know, just so certainly bear that in mind. So once you get to this page, so the important thing is that whichever email address you have signed up before with the Genius Insight that you are using with the Genius Insight, make sure you continue to use that email, because basically all of your database, your client files, your libraries, etc., are all linked to that email address. So if you decide to create a new user and sign up with a completely new email address and then you find that your libraries aren't there, well, at least you know why. So moving forward, once you get to this page, in the top right-hand button, top right-hand feature, you've got a sync there. Ariel, could you just go ahead and check that for me, please? Okay, so basically once you come to this page, you're going to have three options. Your user records, your individual client libraries, and then your client libraries. So what you need to do, please, is do one of these at a time. You do your user records, your individual client libraries, and then your client libraries. We are not going to do this now because your individual client libraries, especially Ariel's 4.5 million libraries that she has, it's going to take quite a while. However, here's the good news. If for some reason, while it's busy downloading the libraries, maybe your internet cuts out, maybe your device stops working, or you go into hibernation mode, or you fall asleep, or something along those lines, don't worry about it, because whenever you get back to this page and you click on the sync again, it will basically just pick up from where it left off. Now, it does take a while to download the libraries. The longest I've taken, and at that stage I had about 1,900 libraries, because as part of the development process, I figured out a way to replicate the libraries about 4 or 5 times. So on about 1,900 libraries, I think it took me a good sort of 15 to about 20 minutes. So just bear that in mind. Be patient. If you're English, go have a cup of tea. If you're American, watch the elections or whatever it is we need to do. But yeah, so just be a bit patient. It does happen. It does need to sync all three. You've got your user records, your client libraries, your individual client libraries, and then your client libraries as well. It must do all three in order for you to get everything there. Okay, Ariel, let's just go back if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
I don't know if anyone has any questions. I can't see any questions here. So
no, there's not. I don't think so yet. I think that Annette was saying that she's really happy she can use the Genius offline. But Ryan, I think people need to know, what if they sort of procrastinate about syncing, or what's the main downside that they won't be able to really use it offline, right?
Oh, you know what? Great question. No, absolutely not. I mean, the only reason why we've got the sync feature there is for you to bring all of your client files from the previous Genius over. So, you know, that actually brings a good, that actually brings up, sort of two specific points. You do not have to do the sync option at all. Don't sweat it. It just means that you're going to be coming into the new Genius Insights with no client files and no libraries. That's your first option. Your second option is once you are in the Genius Insights, you can go and retrieve your client files and your database through Dropbox. You can certainly do that, no problem at all. However, if you have created additional client names or additional libraries that are separate from your Dropbox, it will not, obviously when you do Dropbox, it will not
It won't bring them forward because it's not synced, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what, I mean, the challenge is, I'm sorry it's, going to take, 15, 20 minutes, but it's the best solution that we have, and we wanted to make sure that, when we redesigned this, that we had a pretty seamless process to ensure our existing users who had existing, client files and libraries, that, there was a way for them to bring everything across.
Now, Ryan, Dolores says here, I brought the files, which I think she's saying that she did a sync, but she says I have to add the libraries back into each client.
Okay, I'll actually go through that process. Yeah, that is correct. I'll actually walk you. I'll actually walk you through that process. But typically you may have to do that. But you know what? In all fairness, it'll take you, a minute or two to actually do. So let's just go ahead and skip and skip. Click cancel, and then just go up to libraries. And then here, go ahead and click on Add to Client, and then select one or all of them. Okay, and then basically this is all you need to do to be able to, to be able to add your clients, to be able to add the libraries to your specific client. If they have not automatically added, please just go ahead and do this. It'll take you maybe, a minute or two. It's not something that you'll only need to do once, and then you'll be good to go. While we're at this page, Ariel, just go ahead and click on the navigation there for me as well, please.
Sure.
Okay, so if you just scroll down, and this is actually going to move, you've got the Genie Cloud Sync Database. Just go ahead and tap on that for me, please. So basically, if you go ahead and tap on this, this is when it'll basically sync with the server. It will sync with your with your email address and your database. So basically, if let's say you haven't synced this for the last 10, 20, 30 days. If you go up there and click on sync, everything that is stored on your iPad, it will automatically sync to the server, and you will never lose that information again.
So Ryan, let's just recap one more time. Let's say a person uses it offline for 10 days, and then they're like, well, I'm going to be at the coffee shop. I want to go, have a little latte or something. At that moment, when they're connected to Wi-Fi, is this a time they should actively go to that Genie Cloud Sync database? Is that a good time to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly won't take long, but yes.
Okay, so they need to know it won't happen automatically, that if they're going to work offline, they need to go and make sure that it's synced from time to time.
It will not happen automatically. So, in order to make this thing offline, we've had to actually change that whole feature. So yes,
okay.
You have to manually go and sync your database, as and when you feel that you want to.
Okay. Okay, fantastic.
Okay, and then just underneath that Cloud Genie Sync database, if we just go back there, you've got the change password option. I'm not too sure if you click on it now whether you can actually get out without changing the password. Okay, you can. So, for those of you that have lost your password and you want to create a new password, go ahead and do that, and then just get to this page, put your old password in, put your new password, confirm a new password. I think it needs to be 8 digits or more. In fact, you know what, just 8 digits, and then you're good to go.
So Ryan, just to clarify, because what they'll do is they'll ask for their temporary, they'll do the password retrieval, they'll get a password that is not very memorable. And if they want to change it to something easier for them personally to remember, they are going to have to copy and paste it into right here and then create their new password.
Yeah, just as a matter of preference, I wouldn't suggest copying and pasting your password in there. I just find because these fields are actually encrypted. Sometimes when you copy and paste into these fields, it actually doesn't come through. So I would suggest just actually manually entering in the password, the temporary password that you were given.
Okay, fantastic.
All right. Just one little caveat as well that I wanted to share with you. If at any one time, and just click on the navigation again for me, please.
Sure.
If you click on the logout option down on the bottom, don't do that, Ariel. But if you click on that logout option, it'll basically log you out of this device. You will then have to log back in, and then you will have to sync your database again.
Okay.
We've created something within the app that you will not be logged out. It won't prompt you to log out. We won't force you to log out after a day or two or anything along those lines. If you reformat your iPad, you will certainly be logged out. But typically, from normal everyday use, you will not be logged out. The reason why we created the logout feature is it just gives some practitioners that might share one iPad in a clinical environment, with 2 or 3 practitioners. It gives them the ability just to have the one iPad and then 3 separate licenses, and then the individual users can log in and then they can log out. It just saves them having to buy 2 or 3 iPads.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Okay, and then what else? I think that's really it that I sort of wanted to share to you, share with you today regarding the new update. Just on a side note, part of the challenges that we have had, ever since we launched the initial Genius Insight, is that when you have everything running online, it's been really difficult for us to try to identify the actual crash logs that are happening. Is it a programming bug that we're having? Or alternatively, is it an actual internet issue? And quite often, I mean, what I found here myself is because you have, internet or Wi-Fi it sort of transfers data in like small little packets of information. And you've got those sort of spikes with your Wi-Fi. And sometimes, when you have a spike or when your internet breaks, you don't even realize it, but it breaks. And then that was creating a lot of issues that we have been experiencing. And equally, in all fairness, I don't, really want to get too much into this, but typically what we have found is that the signatures and that are being generated. It's my personal sense that they I can't really say they're cleaner, but I just think from a sort of energetic perspective, by avoiding Wi-Fi completely, I certainly have a lot more comfort in that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really it with the.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do have some questions, Ryan.
Okay. Hopefully I have some answers.
Annette says, I cannot figure out how to delete libraries from client records that are no longer wanted or needed.
Okay, so at the moment, Annette, the only place where you can actually delete your libraries is from the actual system overview page. Over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks, so if you just click, I think you've only got one library there, which wouldn't really help. Maybe just go and add a bunch of libraries there, if you wouldn't mind, Ariel, first.
I think I might have other libraries in here. Let me see if I do. Oh yeah, that's the only one.
Okay. Just add a bunch more quick.
Yeah,
should
sure.
give you the.
Okay, well, it's good for people to see it anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So Annette, just to answer your question. The only place where you can actually, I'm glad you're actually doing this. Okay, now when this happens, just go back, okay, and then go back to the system overview. Click on libraries again. Okay, now, please bear in mind that when you add a whole bunch of libraries to the system overview page, we're going to have a little pinwheel timer or something along those lines. But what I have found is that it does take maybe anywhere from 5 to sort of 15 seconds to actually load, everything. So just, just be a bit patient. If you're tapping something and you're finding that it's not working, it's just because there's a lot of work, going on in the background. So just give it, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 seconds or whatever it may be, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, we should have a delete function. Go back one more, please. Click on libraries again. Okay, so you see there in the top right-hand corner, we've got that little red stop sign or whatever it may be. Go ahead and tap on that, and then you can select the items to delete. So, just to be clear, this will allow you to delete items from the system overview. It will not allow you to delete your actual libraries that you have created. As I said, over the next week or two, in fact, the next 2 weeks, I will create that feature. Right now,
that's what she was asking. She wanted to know how to delete it from one client. So I think that's perfect for that purpose.
Okay, all right, cool. So just so you know, what we're currently working on this week is to create an ability whereby you can create a sort of master category list. So right now, what we've got is we've got the different libraries, and then we've got the individual items within each library. What we're doing is we're going to go one sort of hierarchy higher. So in other words, on this page here, you'll be able to create a sort of master category library where, for all intents and purposes, you click a button, you can call it a name, and then you can add as many of these libraries into this master category as you like. So it'll just give you, it'll give you an added benefit of being able to have your main master libraries, and then you can select, either one of those, and then you can get your individual libraries associated with that, and then your individual items associated with that as well. But yeah, I just want to go back to the point of, what I have found during the testing process is sometimes, like after a test or when I've added a bunch of libraries, I'm trying to drag the guy, to the quick zap or the main hold, and it's not working initially. So please just keep an eye on that. If you find it is becoming a bit cumbersome, just shoot me an email. The biggest challenge that we do have is just when we're actually using the libraries, because there's just so much data behind the actual libraries that it just takes a while to load everything in the background.
Ryan, I'm concerned that when we just did that, we did some kind of sync or something while we were on together. It actually has restored the libraries where they're jumbled. So these.
Okay. You mean
yeah.
okay?
I don't know. I'll have to call you and talk to you about it, or
okay.
text you.
All right. Just click on your library dialog box there on the top.
You know what? Let me check it first because I'm not sure. Maybe it is okay. They might be okay.
Do we have any more questions regarding
the Yes, we do. Okay. From Sherry, will we ever be able to leave the program to answer text or email and then come back into the same place we were working as in the Infinity? That would be nice. When we get crashed, then we would also be right where we left off.
Okay. Typically, when there's a crash, it's very difficult to actually come back to the place where you did leave off. In terms of if you answer a text or a phone, you should be able to. We should be able to get that done as well. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. Cool. Great. So a couple other questions here. I think people are just still confused about the process for some reason. So do we go to the Genie Cloud Sync database to get our libraries? I lost out on that info. I guess I can go back and review it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Let's just go through it again because I think this is, it's sort of really important, and it's a process that I would like, everyone to get onto, everyone to get on board with. What I actually would suggest as well is after tonight, the download link that all of you have been using, it was on a sort of demo, sort of beta testing link. So what I would suggest is just wait until tomorrow night. I'm going to migrate, everything over to our new live servers, and then you'll get an automatic pop-up notification you should get a new, if you haven't already downloaded the new version, you'll get an automated pop-up update, just like you normally do, and then you can go ahead and then download the new update accordingly. So just go back to the user record there, please, Ariel.
Oh, not to the sync database.
No, let's just go back to the user record. That's fine. Okay. So again, for those of you that have just joined us or are a bit late, we have a sync feature in the top right-hand corner. The idea behind the sync feature is to bring all of your past records, your client records, all of your past libraries from the Genius Insight online version to the new Genius Insight offline version. You don't have to do this. It's fine. If you don't want to sync and get all of your records and all of your client files over and start from scratch, you are more than welcome to do that. Absolutely no problem. Just go ahead and tap on that for me, please, Ariel. As you can see, you've got 3 different icons that you would need to sync. The middle one, it can take anywhere from about 10 to 15 minutes. Just be patient with it. If you have an internet breakage or your computer turns off, it runs out of battery or something along those lines, you can always come back here and it won't start from scratch again. It'll just pick up where it actually left off.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And then, what else? So
a lot of people are asking about the. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to go to the Dropbox option there under I think it's the settings or accessory. I think it's under the settings. So just load a client, please.
Go back to the nav bar and then to do that.
Yeah. So just put up a client, please, and then get to the navigation bar. Okay, then just go down to settings. Okay, so for those of you that have a Dropbox database, and if you perhaps, just want to use your Dropbox database, you go ahead and you tap on that, you enter in your own personal Dropbox credentials, and then that will import all of your information from Dropbox as well. So just a quick little reminder as well, all of this information with all of your clients, it's actually going to save everything to your local iPad hard drive. Now, if at any one time, and you can do this every day, you can do this once a month or whenever you like, if you want to save this data to the cloud, you would go to your navigation in the top right and then go to your Sync Genie database or Sync Genie or whatever it may be. Just click on the top right there, Ariel, if you wouldn't mind. And then go to the Genie Cloud Sync database. You tap on that, and then it'll connect.
It crashed for some reason now.
It'll connect to the server, and then what that will do, it'll basically take everything that is stored on your local iPad, and it will save it to the server, and then you can, access your information on another device or whatever it is that you choose to do. But, I really do strongly suggest, just to get into a habit of actually updating this on a regular basis. Just go ahead and actually kill the app, or you may need to kill the app.
Anyway, people understand. They get it. This is obviously just a temporary thing.
Cool.
So, Brian,
yes.
people are asking about the functional zones in the Progressive Insights.
Been waiting for that. In all fairness, we actually weren't going to include the functional zones with this update. It incorporates so much more than what you are currently looking at. What I would suggest is just rather sit tight with that information. Don't worry about it. Not a case of don't worry about it at the moment, but we just want to decide on a better way to actually present the information. Because right now, what you're actually seeing there with the functional zone is a snippet of of something really cool that we're busy working on. And I'm not too sure whether we're going to incorporate it into the current Genius Insight app, or create another derivative of it, or whatever it is. You know, the reality, I mean, just to be real candid with you, I was so excited about the information, I started plugging it in. And then, you know, once we plugged it in, it suddenly dawned on me, well, you know what, maybe there's a better way to actually present this information. So I'd love to share more with you right now, but if I can just ask you just to respect the fact that, you know, we put it in, we're not really, you know, we put it in, to take it out was another 25 hours worth of work, and I just said, you know, it's in, let's just leave it, and then we'll figure out a good sort of launch format. So more likely than not, you know, probably next week we'll do a webinar. We'll just go through some of the basics, you know, of this, and perhaps just, you know, lead into where we are actually going, you know, with the various zones, etc. But it really does promise to open up a whole new method of analysis and investigation for the Genius Insight as well. So through this, you'll be able to develop, or not develop, but you'll be able to look at people's adaptive capacity. In other words, like how well they can actually adapt, you know, to the outside, you know, to outside energetic signatures. It's going to be wonderful, but in some ways, I think I actually pulled the trigger just a wee bit too early. But nonetheless, you've got it. Start playing around with it if you like, and then I'll make a point of next week we'll actually get on a call, and we'll go through the various zones and that in a lot more detail.
Is the functionality actually complete, or that's not complete either? It's
Well,
just
the functionality from what you're looking at now is actually complete, yes, but you know, really you're sort of looking at the tip of the iceberg, which is, you know, this probably encompasses maybe, you know, 20 to 25% of what we want to do with this information. So, you know what, is it available? Yes. Is it functioning? Yes. But we just got so much more stuff that we can actually add to this. But, you know, the reality is, I mean, just, you know, thinking out loud, in some ways it's better to produce more regular updates, you know, versus maybe one major update, you know, every 6 months or whatever it is, because then it's just so much more to take in. You know, whereas if we, you know, release smaller updates with a bit more information, it's a bit more easier to understand that information, find a way to actually integrate it into your existing sort of protocol or your existing modality, and then, you know, we come out with a new update and a new update. And I certainly anticipate that's what we will be doing with this process over here. So stay tuned. It's really exciting. A lot of the research has actually been done by Garnet Dupree as well. So he'll be coming on board with a bit of luck in the next week or so, and we'll be going into that in a lot more detail.
Dolores says, I like using it, but I wanted to understand it better. Please leave it in. And Susan Tyler says, I've been using the functional zones and seeing fast results, even not knowing what it's doing. My intuition tells me it's awesome.
You know, great. Thank you very much. No comment. I agree 100%, and I look forward to seeing this evolve. It sounds so politically correct, doesn't it? I look so forward to seeing this evolve into whatever it is. But you know what? It really is going to be exciting. It's a whole new dimension. So thank you very much for your support, and I have every confidence this is going to help take your practice and take your analysis and understanding of your clients' well-being to a much deeper level as well.
That's fantastic, Ryan. We're really excited to hear more about that. Ryan, one thing, somebody's asking about the voice recording options, but one thing I did want to ask you about related to that is something people frequently ask, which is, what is the voice harmonics piece down here? What does this mean?
It actually doesn't really mean anything, to be candid with you. The voice harmonics is basically what we use for the neuro remedy. Same kind of process. So really, what we've got there, it's just it's basically the voice harmonics. We use that exact same process for the neuro remedy. Why did I put it in there? Because there was space, and I figured it's important for you to realize that, you know, as much as what we can capture the voice, you know, there's a lot of different things that we can actually do. And I think, you know, creating this sort of voice harmonics, it sort of leads into the, you know, into the actual neuro, into the neuro remedy as well. What I would suggest, as an option, is to actually have your clients listen to the voice harmonic for, maybe 10, 15 seconds before you move forward with the actual session. Because that's, in some ways it's a sort of, not really a homeopathic principle, but you actually are feeding their own voice back, back into the body, which I think is actually good. It can help, set a really good stage or a really good platform for your session.
So just to reiterate, so what somebody would do is just record their voice for the 15 seconds, just like we're recording now, and then they
Yeah.
could spend about 5 or 10
Oh, hello?
seconds. Yeah, can you hear me? Ryan, can you hear me? You still there, Ryan? I don't know if we lost Ryan, if he's still there or
No,
not.
I'm back
Okay.
now. I'm back. You see, there we go. The prime example with the internet dropping in and out. I'm back. Yeah, so you just go ahead and tap on the voice harmonics.
And they play that for just as long as they want to, maybe 5, 10,
Yeah,
30 seconds or
just
something.
yeah, 10, 15 seconds I think would be fine.
The other common question that people ask, Ryan, is, whoa, what what do these mean, and are they things that people should adjust or take note of? These different hertz
No,
frequencies and these
you
little
can't
beeps
actually
here.
you can't actually do anything with those. You can't adjust them. It doesn't mean anything to you. From a programming side, those are the voice dominant frequencies that we have. So a lot of the analysis, when we're applying the fast Fourier, etc., we're running the analysis off these main dominant frequencies. But for all intents and purposes, for you as a practitioner, you can just you can bypass that information.
And Ryan, would you say that a fast Fourier is something that takes complex information and makes it digestible, or how would you describe the fast Fourier, the advantage of using that?
It's not so much a sort of advantage or anything that's beneficial to the client, but I mean, for those of you that are interested, I would certainly suggest, just Google, fast Fourier
Well,
or
no,
whatever
we
it
did we did when we were making the
is.
training program, Ryan, and
Oh, cool.
it
Okay.
is really
Yeah.
cool to read about it. But do you have, or maybe you don't have a sound bite for it, but people see that the fast Fourier is working every time they do a voice analysis. Is there anything that you want to share about why you chose that particular way of doing the voice analysis?
Um, to be candid with you, Ariel, no, it's just I mean, I sort of simply translated. It's a way to take a really, really complex waveform, which if we look at our voice, it's, super complex. It's a way
Right.
to take that and to simplify it. And once we've got it, more more simplified, that doesn't sound correct. But basically, once
No,
we've
no,
taken
that's
that wave sample and we've got it simplified, it really it enables us to apply the math and the algorithms and the calculations much more efficiently.
yeah, that's
And
what I mean, that's what we got from the Wikipedia, but so all right, so that's good. So it takes complex information and makes it digestible or able to use it for programming purposes.
yes,
If you upload the voice, does that mean it's saved for future sessions? That's from Jordana.
no, it does not. It's a one-time only.
How important is it to do voice analysis for each session?
Well, in my opinion, it's what it's such a loaded question, and in some ways, I'm actually borrowing this from an old dear friend of mine. It's like, this is 15 seconds of your time. And if 15 seconds is so, if you don't have 15 seconds to do a voice recording, well, I mean, I can't suggest you should do it or enforce that you should do it, but that's just a loaded question. Is it important? Absolutely. Should you do it all the time? Absolutely. Will you do it all the time? Absolutely not. And that's all I can say.
I think, because just related to the question about what are the options for uploading or for recording the voice, people should know that, if you're going to work on somebody like asynchronously, like you don't have them there live, they could leave a voicemail for you, and then you hold up the phone and then you record them speaking on voicemail to your iPad. Do you agree, Ryan, that this is an acceptable way of receiving the
Yes,
voice?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's no excuse then for not receiving the voice, because people can always leave a voicemail or a Skype message or a WhatsApp message or something like that if it's if it's at all possible. And
I agree, but
Ryan, it's so good to have the expert and the developer on, because Kelly wants to know, what about background noise? How much of a difference does that make when you're recording the voice?
that's actually a super good question. To me, it's a large part of this has to do with the better voice recording you're going to get. Um, I can't say the better results you're going to get because, quite frankly, I haven't done the research accordingly, and I really couldn't give you a sort of logical answer. But to me, it's about it's like sort of everything that you do. A part of this, it has to do with setting a stage for you and your client. As an
Mm-hmm.
example, if you have a client that comes into your practice and they ADD or they're all over the place and they can't sit and they can't focus, they can't answer your questions properly, you can't get an idea about the clinical context or anything along those lines, you're going to have a real tough time with being able to help them. In my opinion, the same can be said for the voice recording. The more clear, the better recording you can get, the better
Mm-hmm.
chance of giving the technology to yield better information. Look,
Mm-hmm.
at the end
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
day, getting a recording while someone's, just about to, take off on a plane or something like that, you've got to take what you've got and you've got to make it work however you can. But, my sense is whatever you can do to get a better recording, etc., I would, suggest that you do that.
Yeah, that's really, really great because you're capturing vibration. When I did the Nutritional Therapy Association and we went through maybe 100 people in a day and there were people all over because it was a convention, we actually did have people sort of speak really close to the microphone, and amazingly, we got very, very good results. But I mean, it just speaks to the power of the program, not the really the ideal setting. So I think it's really good information. Ryan, Jordana was asking, are you still there?
Yes, Anne.
Okay. Is there a limit to the amount of items we can put in the quick zap or main whole tray? And what is your take just in terms of like the ideal amount of items to put in each tray?
Um, I actually did an article on Friday about, a simple concept of, less of more and sort of more of less.
Sure.
To answer specifically your question, uh, there is no sort of limiting amount for either tray. So you can certainly put as many as you want. Bear in mind that a lot of these individual items that you look at, for example, infections, or if you click on the essential oils, for each and every item, we can have anywhere from 3 or 4 different frequencies up to 13 or 14 different frequencies per item. So if you add a whole bunch of these into the quick zap, let's just assume that all of these have maybe, 13 different frequencies. You've got 13 times 10 or whatever it is. You've got 130 different energetic frequencies. And then if you're going to say, okay, I want to do those for 2 minutes, you're not really giving the body much time, or the actual system much time, to sort of cycle through, all of those. But the long answer is, or the short answer is, as far as I'm concerned, find what works for you. There is no limit. In my opinion, if you start, getting maybe 30, 40, 50, in some ways, I actually think, that's too much. The whole idea behind, specifically the progressive insights, is to help you sort of like narrow in and sort of window in on specific issues. So instead of doing a sort of shotgun type of approach, and that, in my opinion, typically that's what you're doing. If you've got 50, 60, 70 items, you're just throwing them at the body. It's like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, and you want to see, like, what's going to stick, or you have a sort of a shotgun type of approach. What I would rather suggest is find a way to make the progressive insights work for you. And through that process of elimination, through that process of investigation, try and identify the items that have the highest probability, that tie into your client's clinical context as well, and then just focus on those items. So in other words, I'd rather give 5 minutes to 5 or 10 items versus 5 minutes to 20 or sort of 30 items. Um, that's my
No,
that's my take.
it's a great perspective. Yeah, I think that that's makes a lot more sense and it makes a lot better use of the balancing time.
And again, I mean, just to sort of to tie into the clinical context here, I really want to stress. I mean, this technology, please, it's not 100% accurate. Believe me, we doing everything we can do to improve this on a constant basis. But the idea behind this technology is to help you as a practitioner, help you as a client, to look at this information and then relate it to your client's symptoms, to their clinical context. Because sometimes it is going to throw out, false positives or whatever it may be. It doesn't mean that the machine is not, it doesn't mean that the app is not working. It just means that, like with everything, there are limitations. For those of you that have been for blood tests, I've been to two different places having the same blood test, completely different results. I mean, it does happen. And what I'm
But Ryan, they say
suggesting,
the accuracy for blood tests is like less than 50%. It's so low. I mean, probably your resonance checks are actually better than those.
I certainly wouldn't want to draw a comparison, but I mean, when I was young, I was in the army, and I picked up this really bad parasite. It was called bilharzia. And I kid you not, I was in London. I had a test in London. I mean, I was just feeling dreadful. I came to South Africa. I had a test in South Africa. They confirmed it within 24 hours. I then went back to London, and they said, "No, you're fine." I said, "You have to be kidding me." And I pulled out my test from South Africa, and I said, "You know what? Look at this." And the doctor looked at this, and he said, "Well, I mean, okay, well, maybe you might, and I can give you a prescription." And I said, "Okay, that's a great idea. Thank you." And I mean that was for it was like a major parasite, and it's absolutely insane. But the bottom, the moral of the story is look at the information and relate it back to what your client is telling you. Listen to what they're telling you. Look at the clinical context as well, and then decide on the items that would be the most beneficial for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And Dolores says I have good luck with 10 or 15 frequencies, running it for about the same amount of time as number of frequencies. So she has
Interesting.
10
Okay.
frequencies, she runs it for 10 minutes or something.
That you know what again, if that is working for you, fantastic. Keep on doing it. I'll be candid with you. I haven't been a practitioner for years and years and years and years and years. Um, I enjoy this. I understand this information from a technical side. I understand it from a sort of theoretical side. But when you're actually putting it into a clinical practice, that's where it's up to you people to come together as a group and to find out what's working and what's not working. And really, the only people that are going to find that out is you. I mean, I can, build this thing and add new features in that until the cows come home. But until you are out in the field and you are experimenting and you are, trying different things, only then you can really find out what's working for you. And to me, this is one of the great things about, quantum biofeedback, as a whole technology. There's no right or wrong. There really isn't. You can't do any harm. You're not giving somebody allopathic medication where they can have 500 different side effects. Here we are working with the body's natural immune system. We are trying to stimulate the body's own defense. We are trying to build the body up. And as long as we can work with the body, we really have a great chance. But again,
You
it's
really
up
can,
to
you
you.
really can do no wrong as long as you're doing it with good intention and trying to figure out, what you really feel is the best way to work with your client.
Absolutely.
Ryan, I'm curious, what is going on with this is wonderful. These are already pre-checked. What are the check boxes here?
Okay, so that's going to tie into the functional zone
Very good.
considerations. So
Okay.
basically, if you wanted to look at the functional zone considerations in relation to one or all of them, you would check one of those items. And again, just to sort of lead into that, by applying that process, it really helps you sort of, window in and window in and window in and really get to the sort of root of the actual issues.
Hmm.
So you see,
That's
right
great.
now it's just showing you your general functional zone considerations. But if you had to go back one step and say, well, hang on, I want to see my functional zone consider. Okay, if there was something more exciting here, let's just assume there was. But just take, like, for example, juniper berry. So you go ahead and you check that, and then you click on your functional zone considerations. Then what it's doing, it's actually looking at your functional zones in relationship to your juniper berry as well. Well, not as well, but now it's giving you more information just related to that. Do me a favor, go ahead and just
Sure.
tap on like immune zone. No, just go back one.
Do you want me to
I
just
mean,
get
just
rid
go,
of these and then bring
no,
immunity
no,
or
no,
something into the? Okay.
no, no, it's okay. Just go back, tap the juniper berry, and then click on the functional zones. I just want to see whether we've actually completed this as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go back into Progressive Insights.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, click on begin analysis for me, please. And then just click on like Cypress as an example, and then do functional zone considerations. And then just click on biochemical zone as an example. Oh, cool. Okay, so we've actually completed a whole bunch of it. Okay, cool. Yes. So in doing this, it actually, so from looking at your functional zones, you can then actually window in, and then you can have a look at all of the different factors which are actually impacting your specific zones, and then you can go ahead and take these and then drag them down to the whole tray, and then off you go.
So you take this down into here,
Yep, into the main whole tray.
and you don't want to comment about what the different 95% and so forth and so
That's
on
yeah, sure.
is
That's just
to be
giving
here.
you your percentage probability. So in other
Hmm.
words, what it's saying is that in relation to whichever item we selected, these two have a 95% probability that they are impacting that specific functional zone.
Oh,
So
that's
then,
really cool.
yeah,
That's
you
really
just
cool.
go back one. So just go back one,
Sure.
and then take
It was the
the
biochemical
the
zone.
biochemical, yeah, and then take the biochemical zone down, please, and then go back one more. And then what did we do? We took the Cypress as well. And then see if you can drag the Cypress. No, hang on. And then if you click on the play, okay, so go ahead and then check your click your high click your Cypress on the right hand side. I just
Oh,
click the
only
one
click
though. We
side,
just
only. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that.
That's fine. Okay, now
So it should be
theoretically
like
speaking,
this.
I
Yeah.
don't know whether we've completed this, but now if you click play, what we should be doing now is now we're going to be balancing Cypress together with the functional zone and then the specific related items as well.
Okay. That's really cool about the, because that makes sense with the minerals and the pH. If those were impacting any part of the system, those would sort of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, let me be candid. I mean, like what you're looking at here and where we're going to take this. I mean, this in itself is an entire program that Garnett and I were working on for about 18 months prior. I mean, yeah, you're only looking at the sort of tip of the iceberg. We're just trying to figure out whether we integrate it into here or whether we create a new design format. So we're just not too sure at the moment. But yeah, it's giving you a bit of a snippet with things to come.
David wants to know some words about gender choice in client records and the interest of this selection.
Gender choice. Okay, purely. If you select male or female, it just loads the male or the female icon onto your system overview page. And I think that was actually requested by David, if I'm not mistaken, as well. I
I think what
stand to be
people
correct.
wanted though, they wanted things like that are related to women. For example, the
Oh,
uterus.
yeah,
They
I get
wanted those to
you.
be filtered out. according to
Okay,
the choice of the particular gender, so it wouldn't seem awkward to tell a gentleman that
okay.
his uterus was out of balance.
Well, in today's age and society, it's yeah. Anyway, no comments. Okay, you know what? That's fine. We'll be able
Yeah.
to fit. Yeah. Now I will get onto that. I don't want to say this week. You know, this week we just we've literally got 150 hours worth of work this week just on creating this master list categories for the libraries. We've got three different engineers: one Android guy, one iOS guy, and then one web guy. All three of them have committed to doing 50 hours of work just specifically on that this week. Once that is ready, then we can start addressing some of the other issues as well.
So Surya
But
says with the new download, I didn't get the gender choice, but that's when you're creating a new client, right? Or no?
that is correct, yes.
I'd love to have gender-based pictures and animations. I guess it seems like the guys don't like the fact that the sort of the female picture is pictured there. I don't know, I guess it
No,
doesn't
I
seem as
totally
unisex to
agree.
them.
You know, with time, yeah, no, absolutely. With time, I mean, for example, this image here, this should actually be if we've got a male loaded up, then yes. You know, we just did the system overview because that's really all we could do before we came out with a release. But, you know, as time goes on, and, you know, the cool thing with this is it's very much an organic process. And, you know, I want to thank each and every one of you for bearing with us during this process. I know it's been a sort of topsy-turvy. We've had some challenges. I'm not going to kid you, and I humbly, thank each and every one of you for standing by. But the cool thing now is that, now we've got this offline version. We're going to be able to move forward with new features much more efficiently, much quicker. Because I mean, this last 8 weeks, this is all we've been doing, and it's been driving me insane because as soon as we start fixing something for the online version, it then messes up the offline version. So literally, the last 8 weeks, we've been, trying to make sure that the online version is still rock solid while redesigning, everything from the ground up. But now, now that we've done this, I'm certain you're going to find the odd bug, but I think that's normal with software. But when you do, let us know, and we can be pretty responsive now to actually fixing it.
Brian, I don't know where you find the hours in the day. I mean, I do know it's going to be great to talk about the functional zones more because what Garnett and you are able to put together about the adaptive capacity is people will really be blown away about how deep an understanding you're going to have of your client from this and the depth of the work that you're going to be able to do with them. So the fact that you're incorporating this into the Genius has just caused the Genius to increase in value phenomenally. So thank you, and thanks for bringing these really thrilling updates to the community.
Well, as I said, certainly, Ariel, thank you to you. And, without the user group supporting us the way they do, it would be an interesting journey. So, those of you that have stuck around and are still sticking around, I take my hat off to you and kudos and, thanks so much. Talking of which, we actually have some really cool things coming up after Thanksgiving. Some just cool, fun things to get everyone in the Christmas spirit. So keep an eye out on your emails. I'm sure we'll be doing some follow-up webinars on some cool things that we're doing. But it'll be a lot of fun, and we hope we can enlist and enroll all of you to get on board.
Brian, thanks a lot for today. Really, really appreciate it. These have been phenomenal updates and great information. I really appreciate it.
Well, Ariel, thanks so much for hosting this. Everybody, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you online, or we'll see you through email, or we'll see you for my Friday coffee update.
Sounds good, Ryan. Thank you, and thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Take care, and we'll see you next week for some more information, maybe about the functional zones. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
Bye.